Hello everyone, my name is Misha Mavros. Some of you may know me from my older videos on YouTube about borderline personality disorder. But for those of you that are new here, I'm Mishi. I've been diagnosed with BPD for almost 10 years now. I've also been diagnosed with bipolar 2, post-traumatic stress, eating disorder, postpartum depression, and previously with generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, and in my childhood, oppositional defiant disorder. I'm also currently in the process of getting my assessment for ADHD and autism. However, I won't be speaking on those last two illnesses until I am officially diagnosed by my psychiatrist. But I am in the process of it. Today's video is going to be about DBT. DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. I recently graduated from my 12-week skills program. I would love to share everything that I've learned about DBT because it has really effective coping skills and strategies that we can all use to benefit and live that ideal life. So what is DBT? Dialectical Behavior Therapy was originally a modified form of CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy. This DBT was created by Dr. Marsha Linehan, which, if those of you know her, she is one of the leading researchers in the world around borderline personality disorder. She's also had BPD in the past herself as well. So she created these skills to really work towards helping us with the symptoms that affect our daily lives. The term dialectical or dialect means integrating opposites. People with BPD usually have what's called dichotomous thinking, which means viewing things in extremes, either as all good or all bad. This type of thinking can also be called A and B thinking or black and white thinking. Basically, it's the inability to see things in gray or in multitudes. We often see situations and people in extremes, and it can get very hard to function in our daily lives. DBT has four main sections to it, and those are mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. I will go over all of these a little bit more, but I also wanted to make separate videos for each of them to really get into all of the skills and goodness that each module has. Now, majority of the world does not have accessible healthcare, so it can be very hard. You can be on waitlist for a very long time for DBT. So don't feel discouraged. There are lots of amazing resources online. A lot of them are free. I'm going to link them down below. And you can follow along with the DBT manual. Pretty much DBT teaches us to think before we act, because I myself pretty much have most of the time acted before thinking fully about the consequences. So the first section of DBT is mindfulness. These skills help us be present and in the moment. They're thought to be three states of mind: your emotional mind, which acts off obviously feelings and emotions and can sometimes lack logic and reasoning. And then there's your rational mind, which is all about the logic and the facts of everything, but can lack compassion because you're not thinking about the emotions. Then we have what's called your wise mind, and that is a combination of both emotional mind and rational mind, being able to think and feel your emotions and also use more of the rational side and thinking of logic and facts and integrating both of them together. Mindfulness is used to decrease sadness and increase happiness while also gaining control over your mind. Mindfulness allows you to experience reality exactly how it is. Basically checking in with your body, feeling the moment in the present and not allowing your mind to wander. Really feel every bodily sensation and thought and let it pass without holding on to it. It's important for us to view things in life non-judgmentally. Sometimes using statements like that is the worst or that is the best. And a quick way to practice mindfulness in your everyday life is to close your eyes, take deep breaths, and when you breathe, think wise, and breathe out and think mind. I will be addressing all of the skills in each video, so stay tuned for that. The next part of DBT is distress tolerance, and these are skills that you can use in short term when you are feeling in crisis. Some distress tolerance skills that may be well known are the ice cube trick, basically grabbing an ice cube and putting it on your wrists or on your temples to tip your temperature. It kind of gives your body the similar reaction as if you were to act on those emotions, and it kind of takes away focus from the situation back into your body. You don't have to use ice cubes. You can also use a shower, a cold or hot shower. But there are other tip skills, and these include intense exercise, paced breathing, and paired muscle relaxation. Intense exercise also gives you a similar feeling by getting your heartbeat going and gives you an outlet for your emotions and feelings. Paced breathing is deep breaths in increasing intervals, and paired muscle relaxation is pairing two muscles together. I'll get into this in a lot more detail in a later video, but this is just kind of the general of distress tolerance. These are more so short-term skills that we can use as opposed to long-term. Just before we move on, I really wanted to share one of my favorite skills. It is called pros and cons, and it falls under the distress tolerance section. Basically, pros and cons is asking yourself the positives of on acting in a situation versus the negatives of acting in a situation. Usually the positives are short-term, so acting on that impulse or that emotion would be a very good feeling. You know, you'd be able to let it out. You'd be able to feel more heard and understood and seen, and you won't have to feel like it's crushing you. But then the negative effects of that could be relationship problems. It could be affecting your own health and your progress. So usually those negative outcomes are more long-term, and those are sometimes really hard to remember when we're in that state. So asking yourself if those pros and cons are really, really helpful. Next part of DBT is emotion regulation, and this is definitely the most information-packed section. There's 5 different parts to emotion regulation, but essentially we start off by learning that all of our emotions have a meaning and a purpose. There's biological changes that happen in our body when we experience emotions, and emotions actually have a purpose. That might be common knowledge, but emotions alert us to potentially dangerous situations and can allow us to act on, potentially important, time-sensitive situations. It's not about changing the emotion or the feeling, it's about changing how we react to that feeling. We actually have biological changes in our body when we experience emotions. For example, when I'm angry, I can feel my heartbeat accelerate, I can feel my face start to get really hot, I can feel very tense. And these biological sensations can actually alert us of when we are getting into that state. Personally, I find it very, very hard to understand when I am getting into more of an increased state until it's quote unquote too late in my eyes. I don't really understand that I'm getting angry until I'm super angry. And also we learned that a primary emotion typically only lasts for 1 to 2 minutes. Primary emotion is stuff like sadness, anger, and happiness. After those 1 to 2 minutes, they then turn into secondary emotions if we haven't processed them. So sadness turns into depression and anger turns into rage. Especially borderline personality disorder, you can interpret your emotions as fact. Again, with using the emotional mind versus the rational mind, sometimes we can believe so strongly what our emotions are telling us, but those feelings and those beliefs may be lacking logic and reasoning, which is why it's so important to use our wise mind. Emotion regulation, we essentially learn to observe our emotions, describe them non-judgmentally, and then participate in them. One of the most helpful parts of emotion regulation that I found is learning how to change how we react to these emotions. And there are some great skills. There's check the facts, opposite action, and problem solving. Essentially, check the facts is asking yourself if my emotions fit the facts of the situation. Say, for example, you are walking down the street and you see your friend in a car and they look at you and they drive by without saying hi. Emotional mind maybe have you thinking that it was intentional, that they didn't want to say hi to you, or that they don't like you anymore, when really almost everything in life is, there's so many interpretations or possible scenarios in which something is happening that it's rarely that one. So when we ask ourselves possible interpretations, we can realize, like with that car scenario, for example, they may not have actually seen us. They may have looked in our eyes but not recognized us. Maybe the sun was in their eyes. Maybe they did see us, but they are rushing to do something and they have 10 other things on their mind and they just don't have time to stop and say hi. Maybe they were gonna wait until they stop the car to text you. There's so many situations. So that's when we can ask ourselves, do the emotions fit the facts? We may feel betrayed or hurt that our friend didn't say hi to us, but there's so many reasons why that is. So when we check the facts and we realize that our emotions do not fit the situation, we can use opposite action. Using that example, you may text that person. You may want to text that person and be like, why didn't you say hi to me? Do you not like me anymore? Opposite action will get you to either A, completely turn your phone off and leave it off for a couple hours. You can use your phone to text someone, but it's a positive text message as opposed to a negative one. You can just text someone and say, hey, I've been thinking about you, hope you have a great day. Or, hey, hope you're having a good weekend, kind of thing. That kind of opposite action, you're still using, you're still acting, but it's different than from how you're thinking. Problem solving is basically finding the best course of action that will be the most beneficial for you and your life. The last skill in emotion regulation that I just wanted to touch on really quickly is the ABC please skill. ABC, it stands for accumulate positives, build mastery, and cope ahead. With accumulate positives, you want to think of things in your life that bring you happiness, joy. What are some healthy things in your life that bring you joy? Is it petting dogs or cats? Is it going for a walk in the forest? It can be little things, but we can accumulate these positives because everyone deserves to have positives and happiness in their life. We can look onto our pleasant events list when we're feeling especially upset or sad, and we can help ourselves out with that. We can help ourselves with changing our mood to a more positive one by engaging in these behaviors or acts that we enjoy. Building mastery means to basically understand that you are capable and able to make change in your life and you're able to complete tasks. Building mastery, basically you want to write things down that you want to achieve. These can be super small tasks. Say you wanted to be doing your bed, but you haven't made your bed in like months. You can write down, make my bed, and maybe a couple other things like call the doctor. And then when you check these things off, when you complete them, you will feel a sense of accomplishment. And that will give you the hope that you are able and capable. The C in ABC is cope ahead when you have a social situation that you know is happening shortly that you can't necessarily get out of. Say, for example, you have to go somewhere where there's going to be a bunch of people there and it makes you anxious to be around large groups of people. You can cope ahead in that situation and think, okay, this is what the situation is going to be. This is how I might feel in the situation, and these are some skills that I can use if I'm starting to feel this way. So you can put things and goals in advance, because sometimes it can feel like so out of left field, like how did any of this happen? And it can be hard in the moment to remember to use certain skills. But for example, if you recognize, oh, I might be doing this in my situation, I can definitely go and do this, it's a lot easier. The final part of DBT is interpersonal effectiveness, and that is basically how to communicate effectively with other people in your life. The goal is to remain objective, stick to the facts, and be non-judgmental. I feel like whether you have BPD or not, these skills are very effective ways of letting people know how you feel and what you would like to happen. You can use the acronym DEAR, which stands for describe, express, assert, and reinforce positivity. Describe means using I notice statements. E, express, using I feel statements, how the situation is making you feel. A, assert, you can use I want statements. And R, reinforce positivity, let the other person know this is a positive outcome. Depending on your goal in interacting with someone, you can use different skills. You want to achieve your goal ultimately, you can use Dear Man. It stands for being mindful, appear confident, and negotiate. If your main goal is to preserve the relationship, you can use Dear Give, which is gentle, interested, validating, in an easy manner. If your end goal is mainly for self-respect and preservation, you can use Dear Fast. Fast stands for be fair, no apologies, stick to your values, and be truthful. I will be making videos going over each of the modules in greater detail, so stay tuned for that. This is more so a general explanation of dialectical behavioral therapy. If you guys have stayed tuned until the end, thank you guys so much for watching. All I've ever wanted to do is make content and share awareness and reach out to people all over the world. And thank you guys so much for helping me achieve that. One day I'm going to be making money full time for doing this. But until then, if you guys have any suggestions for future videos, I would love to hear them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.